Gotcha.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm good. I'm good. Okay. All right. It's a special edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk today as I'm joined by my old colleague, Omar Kelly, a former longtime Sun Sentinel Dolphins writer and columnist and current Dolphins writer for SI.com. We're appearing today on SunSentinel.com for the first time in 6 years after having a successful 6-year run together, 2012 to 2018. What's up, Dolphins fans? Welcome to another edition of Dolphins Deep Dive with Perk. I'm your host, Chris Perkins, your South Florida Dolphins columnist, your South Florida Sun Sentinel Dolphins columnist, rather. That always is Omar Kelly. We welcome all of our viewers and encourage you to participate in our show via our live chat. Some questions we'll answer on the air today. Others I will answer tomorrow in an online article. As a reminder, if you missed any part of this show, you can get our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcast. We're going to endeavor to bring you guys some non-Sun Sentinel guests on the show from time to time during the offseason. We kick that off today. Omar does a great job of covering the Dolphins along with Alan Poupart at SI.com. But as usual, I disagree with a lot of what Omar writes. Mostly I disagree with his take on Tua and his take on the offense. Somehow, I think we're going to have a similar outlook for the Dolphins in 2024. So today we're going to talk Tua. We're going to talk Mike McDaniel. We're going to talk the offense. We're going to talk what we saw in the Super Bowl and how it relates to the Dolphins. And we're going to talk about how the Dolphins should approach free agency. Large pool of possibilities here. Let's dive in. All right, Omar, so we're going to give it to you first. You're the guest. We want your thoughts on Tua. I know you're a big Tua fan. You know, Tua is good. He's obviously not Brady Mahomes good. He needs some help from the run game and defense, I think. I also think he needs less on his plate pre-snap wise. And Mike McDaniel needs to get the plays to the huddle faster to give Tua a chance of a better pre-snap read. But I like Tua overall. Your thoughts on Tua, O?
I am a Tua fan. You know, on the Sun Sentinel, when I did X's and Omar, I was leading that campaign charge, tank for Tua. Kept it going even throughout the hip injury. Wanted him over Justin Herbert. Still feel like they made the right decision with Tua instead of Justin Herbert. I don't want to hear nothing, Perk. To me, the biggest issue with me is he had so many opportunities to finish and kill and put an opponent away and put a victory away. He was 2 of 6 on the season, 2 and 6 on the season in those kill opportunities. Last year it was about him not being durable and healthy enough for a full NFL season. He finally silenced those critics. And right now we're at the point where he's got to take his game to the next level. And if you want to be paid like an elite quarterback, you have to perform like an elite quarterback. And it's not just the statistics. It's not just a winning record. It's not just passer rating. It's about putting a game and an opponent away. And that's the next step for him. When he does that, I think he'll enter the upper echelon in terms of top 8 quarterbacks in this league. But right now I got him in the top 16, probably somewhere in 13 through 16 in terms of where I would rank him.
Yeah, I agree with you totally on that ranking. I was at, you know what? I think the Dolphins made the right choice with Tua over Justin Herbert. I know Tua had the injury history and Herbert was that big, strong, strapping kid. But I do think that Tua is a better quarterback, and I think Tua does better at working with good weapons, like we saw the last 2 seasons like we saw at Alabama. His first 2 seasons in the league under Flo when they didn't have a whole lot, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. But to me, that's irrelevant now because we're in the current, we're in the present, and he's got the talent, right?
Hey, he just led the number 6 offense the previous year, and they were really up there number 1 until he started getting injured and missed a lot of games. And then this year he delivered the number 1 offense in the NFL. Now, say what you want about Tyreek Hill, and I know we go back and forth with our fights about who is the MVP, and I want to hear you again, Perk.
You're gonna hear it.
But you're the quarterback who's delivered arguably top 5 offenses in the NFL for 2 seasons. The last one to do that for the Miami Dolphins is Dan Marino. I don't want to compare him to Dan Marino, but what I will say is he's a talented quarterback. He's a winning quarterback in the NFL. When you talk to odds makers and bettors, you don't bet against Tua. And he can help you make a lot of money. The question is, can he win you a championship? Can he be an elite quarterback who raises the talent level of the team around him? And when they had injuries at the end of the season, and my colleague at alldolphins.com, he does not want to hear it. But we were out there, Perk, and we watched Jalen Waddle that final week practice and get ready for that Kansas City game. And all of us unanimously said he should not be playing. And then he got dragged out there on the field, and him and Raheem Mostert, they both played. But let's not pretend like the top 4 offensive weapons were battling injuries and were maybe playing at 70%. And that wasn't a factor in that game or in the final 3 games of the season, because it was.
Yeah, you know what? Here's what I think, though. The Dolphins put too much on Tua, and we're going to get into the Mike McDaniel thing here soon. But I like that they brought in Vic Fangio and that they were building up the defense. I like that they, I wish that they would have brought in a better a more physical running back. I wish that they would have brought in a receiving tight end. Tua, you can win it. Yeah, they need that. You can win a title with Tua, but he needs help. He needs help, and that's not a criticism. Like most quarterbacks,
everybody but Patrick Mahomes needs help.
Right. Look at what Kansas City did this year. They shift to a defensive team, right? And you saw that the first half of the Super Bowl was low scoring. It was defensive. Mahomes made those key plays in the second half and the overtime when he needed to do it. That's kind of what I would like to see from the Dolphins is don't have the offense carry so much. Like level out the load a little bit, even it out a little bit. Don't be so.
Wait a minute, Perk. They were number 4 defense in the NFL before they just got decimated by injuries. Like, we're going to put some respect on Vic Fangio's name. We know he's a curmudgeon, but he delivered. He delivered a top 10 defense at the end of the season, and I think that was the expectation that everybody in the media had for him. And did that despite all the injuries and despite playing with the oldest pass rusher unit in the NFL in that playoff game. So I think that they were a balanced team. They were number 6 rushing in rushing yards and number 1 in yards per attempt. I think really where things fell apart were injuries at the end of the season. If you had a healthy Xavier Howard, a healthy Bradley Chubb, and I understand everybody goes through injuries. Everybody has to withstand a lot of injuries. But if you had a lot of your key components, a healthy Raheem Mostert, a healthy Jalen Waddle, and a healthy Tyreek Hill, even though he was producing at a relatively respectable rate, even when he wasn't healthy, you could have challenged. I'm not saying you could have beaten the Baltimore Ravens because you just got beaten down by them. But you could have done a better job against the Buffalo Bills. Could you have beaten Kansas City? Probably not, but it would have been a more respectable showing. And I don't think that the 2023 team was that far. However, I think it's going to be a challenge and tremendously hard for them to put the 2024 team as well as put it together as well as they put the 23 team together.
Yeah, I agree. Before we go on, we want to say what's up to Newt 942001. All of our loyal viewers here. Raphael Courtwright, Bob Brinson says it's great to see Omar again. Dave Harbour, He says, Omar Kelly, leader of Tuanon. Dave Harbor comes to us from San Diego.
I am not the leader of Tuanon. I am not even allowed in Tuanon. Come on now.
They kicked you out? What happened?
Oh, I've been on the wanted sign on. I've been wanted on Tuanon. I'm because you know in Tuanon you can't criticize to be a member of Tuanon.
I got blasted all last year, so all of my first year. So yeah.
Yeah, no. I can't be a Tuanon. I got kicked out. The board member, Orlando Alsgary, standing board member, he has kicked me out.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get Big O on the show too. So we'll see what's going on with Tuanon and all that. True Talk 101, what's going on? Let's see, what do we got here? So here's Raphael Courtright says, True Talk 101 says, I see Miami struggling this year. Raphael Courtright says, spread the ball. Samoan Sniper, I feel more like it's telegraph Tua. Bob Brinson says, extend Wilkins.
Hold on. The Samoan Sniper, and yes, they didn't spread the ball around, but that feeds into your argument, Perk, where they had the number one offense in the NFL feeding Tyreek.
Yes.
Why would you change that? I think they need better weaponry, because I would make the argument that Braxton Berrios, Chase Claypool, Robbie Chosen, Cedric Wilson, River Craycraft, I'm sorry, none of those guys would be a number 4 on any other team. And I think that they did their receiving unit a disservice. And you have to do better than that. I love what you said about the physical run game. I am a big proponent for Derrick Henry. Was last year, will continue to be this year. Doesn't mean I don't respect Raheem Mostert and what he achieved and what he accomplished. I think Raheem Mostert had a better year than Derrick Henry did in 2023. But what I will argue is Derrick Henry brings that sledgehammer, that battering ram that will force teams to look at you a different way, as opposed to looking at you like a finesse offense, which is what everybody in the NFL thinks about you.
Right. I agree. So let's use that as our jumping off point to Mike McDaniel. I really like Mike McDaniel. I respect Mike McDaniel. He's a young coach. He needs to grow. I do think that he needs to change or tweak that offense, because look, Omar, you were 1-6 against playoff teams. You were outscored by an average score in those 7 games of 32-16. How is your offense only scoring 16 points? And let's not look at the late season games when you have the injuries. Let's look early season: Buffalo, Kansas City, Philly.
On the road.
You have to win on the road,
Philadelphia on the road.
Okay, unless you're going to win.
You know we fight about this all the time.
We do.
I would swear on the Bible, their offense does not translate on the road. You do not see the same cheat motions. You do not see the same release points. When they have to go to a silent count, they admit it does not work on the road as well as it does at home. Now, I'm not saying that it will never work, because the San Francisco 49ers run the exact same offense, and they made it to the Super Bowl. What I will say is you are more predicated on the finesse aspect and the timing aspect than the 49ers. And I think you have to make a subtle shift. And until you do that, maybe it's a more productive physical tight end that's a threat. Maybe it's a pass catching back. Devon can maybe fill that role. Maybe it's a power back. Until you make that shift, you might continue to have these issues on the road. I don't like when people throw out, when they're not Super Bowl contenders, playoff contender teams, they were 2 and whatever the record is, because what they don't mention is a lot of those games were on the road. They were not at home.
Yeah. And
we know that teams have more success at home than they do on the road in the NFL. So I don't think it's a blanket statement to say, this offense doesn't work against playoff teams. No, I would say the offense doesn't work on the road more so than it doesn't work against playoff teams.
Here against Dallas at home, your offense scored 22 points, 1 touchdown and 5 field goals. When you beat Buffalo here at home, it was 21-14. I know it was a hot, humid day last year and Buffalo was falling out, but 21 points. Like, these are your home games. Look at what you did against Tennessee. You get outscored in the last. I know you scored 27, but you had no response when Tennessee was right. Tennessee was kicking your butt in those last 4 minutes. Give me an offensive response. Offense, do something dramatic. Here's the thing. This offense has only shown out against a quality team once, and that was Baltimore last year. I will give them credit for the Chargers game this year, the opener. The Chargers, they turned out not to be good, but at the time, high quality win. I give them credit for that. But this offense, if your offense can't win on the road, what the is it?
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think that you have to add a little bit more power to your finesse. You just like Mike McDaniels, he drives. This offense is a Ferrari. It's a sports car. Well, what happens when you got to pick the kids up? Right. You got you're gonna have to add the SUV. Right. To your arsenal. They don't have the SUV, and I think that they have to evolve this offseason. I think that would be my number one focus for this team, is to add some power to your finesse.
Right. You need a number 3 receiver, whether it's a running back or a slot receiver or a big guy.
Let me put this to you. All right. I have thought this, and I'm not saying this player in particular because I think he might be washed. But tell me that a Jarvis Landry type would not look good and work well in this offense.
Yes, he would. He would. Look, I mean, you talk about them running the same offense as Kansas City. There's no George Kittle sitting out there, but use your tight end. Use them. Like the Kansas City uses Kelsey, right? I mean, use your tight end.
But you're talking about a Hall of Fame tight end.
I know.
And Kittle's a Hall of Fame tight end.
Okay, but here's my point here, though. Durham Smythe this year, I think he was 36 for 336 or something. He had more receptions and more yards than Mike Gesicki did in 2023. He had career highs in receptions and yards, but he still was not a factor in the offense. Mike McDaniel, use your tight end.
No. I would disagree with you. He was a factor in the offense in blocking and cleaning up stuff.
All right. Well, okay. They need a receiving. They need somebody else to give the ball to.
That's somebody they got to throw the ball to. That's not Tyreek and Jalen.
Right. Right. And so that's why we get back to Mike McDaniel here. This offense has underachieved, right? Compared to what we were sold. What have they done? Again, this is not a rip on anybody, on Tua or McDaniel. This is an objective look at the talent that you have and the results that you have produced. What are you hanging your hat on here?
Yeah, the number 1 offense in the NFL.
But you didn't win a playoff game.
Okay, and there were injuries, to quote Dan Marino, there are injuries that were a factor, and you need to be playing well and probably playing at home in order to get that momentum. I mean, look at Dan Marino's career. I hate to bring up Dan into this conversation, but
it's a perfect example. Because look, here's what I would tell you. No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
There were a lot of seasons wasted because you weren't a complete team.
There you go. That's the bottom line.
And I mean, but making yourself, how many complete teams are there in the NFL right now? Kansas City, San Francisco, maybe Philly. Baltimore. Nah, look how Philly ended the season. I'm not gonna,
over the years, you won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. You went with Jalen Hurts. Neither of those guys are going to the Hall of Fame.
Fine.
You're a complete team. That's what the Dolphins need. They need to build out of those 3 molds, to me.
I think they're building off the San Francisco mold. But those are 4 teams. And I would argue to you, outside of those 4 teams and how they're built, and I'm not saying that this is a well-built team, Perk, because you know how I feel about Chris Greer's drafting and the capocalypse that's coming and roster management and budgeting. Right. It's been a disaster. But it is what it is. You're on the F them picks era of this franchise, and you're going to continue to roll the snowball down the hill. I
agree with it, by the way.
Okay. and then when you order another credit card from daddy, and then max that out, and then turn to daddy and say, okay, daddy, I done maxed the 3 credit cards out.
Right.
Then what?
It's daddy's problem. That's daddy's problem.
I mean, you're right. If daddy keeps giving me credit card, like,
right. Just your trifling kids, daddy.
Hey, eventually daddy got to cut you off now.
Right. That's it.
Eventually daddy got to cut you off.
Right.
And I think 2024, if Chris Grier does not deliver a playoff win and a winning season that builds on what they did in 2023, that's your head. Like, if you're going to make me spend probably $100 million just so I can create the 75 to 80 to $90 million in cap space you need to just make things happen this offseason, and then you don't deliver for whatever reason, like, how could you survive that? How many rebuilds we going to give Chris Grier?
Okay, but what about Mike McDaniel's role in that?
He delivered the number 1 offense in the NFL.
Oh, Lord.
Did he or did he not, Perk?
Yeah, you did, but you did it built on the backs of inferior teams, non-playoff teams.
Were they number 1 or were they not number 1, Perk?
You were number 1, but look, okay.
What do you want him to do?
Here's what I want him to do. When you look at that back-to-back of Denver, where you win 70-20, and Buffalo, where you lose 48-20, I want you to look, and my feeling is the Dolphins, when they were looking at those 2 games and figuring out the issues, my suspicion is they thought, well, we scored an average of 45 points a game, so it's not the offense. I want them to think it is your offense because you only scored 20 at Buffalo. In the more important game, you only scored 20.
Circumstances, Perk. Connor Williams got injured.
I don't want to hear all that, man.
No. The left tackle got injured. Teron Armstead got injured. Yes. You know your boy, the Eichenberg Express. Buffalo was riding it. What did you want Tua to do?
I want him to almost work a miracle because that's a situation. Oh, that's a situation where you need it. Didn't we just saw Patrick Mahomes do that in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Perk. Yeah. And he's not a miracle worker yet. He's not ready to walk on water. He is not home. And my issue with people who are criticizing Tua for the way the season ended, one, they have myopic view because everything comes down to quarterback, and I understand that. That's the world that we live in.
I disagree with that, but go ahead. I disagree with that view. I don't think it should, but go ahead. You're right. You're right.
He got beat by Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes, who 3 quarterbacks he's not in the neighborhood of. And whether you want to argue against it or disagree or say that it's not fair, whatever, those are 3 killers, 3 assassins. And you're not a killer. You can't take a life. That's just who you are as a quarterback. Until you can prove you can take a life, you're not a killer. And he got killed. His team got killed by 3 assassins. So, and we're sitting here in the Dolphins fan base and we're just like, oh, he sucks. The franchise sucks. Everybody sucks. Because you got beat by 3 assassins, and the guy that just absolutely obliterated a very good San Francisco team that was winning the whole game. But he put on his cape and he flew in and played Superman.
He did.
What do you do? What do you do other than get a Patrick Mahomes?
Because here's the thing that you have to have other ways to win. And when we saw Kansas City struggling during the season, to me, the Dolphins offense is like a pitcher who only has a fastball. Eventually, they're going to time your fastball. Give me a changeup. Give me a cutter.
They had a run game. They had balance. They were one of the most balanced teams in the NFL. Don't be disrespectful, Perk. They were.
Okay. Look. Your boy Raheem Mostert, who I like and respect, he establishes the rushing record for touchdowns in a single season. He played 5 games against playoff teams, 1 rushing touchdown. So again, this is the problem with this offense. It's that in the big
circumstances didn't matter, right? The injuries on the offensive line didn't matter, or the
there's always circumstances. What I'm saying is Mike McDaniel needs to build a team that is going to withstand all of these circumstances. Philly had circumstances. San Francisco had a 3-game losing streak, right? Kansas City completely changed their team, right? They were the 15th highest scoring team in the league, very much run of the mill during the regular season. They had minus 11 in turnover margin, worst or second worst in the NFL.
And you know the problem they have in the playoffs, Kirk.
I know, but look, well, here's the thing. They survived in the regular season by being a run game defense team. You flipped the script over what you were, and then in the playoffs, you corrected all that mess. You weren't dropping passes, right?
And in the second half of the season,
other ways to...
in the second half of the season, I would argue to you that the Dolphins were a run defense team.
They kind of were. Their whole thing is still offense. Their whole identity is still offense, right? And your offense is not good enough. So again, this gets back to Mike McDaniel and making some change. Look, why can't he reduce some of that pre-snap motion? Why can't he get the call to the play faster? Why can't he take some stuff off of Tua's plate? You see what happened in Buffalo when they took stuff off. They changed offensive coordinators. Now they went to much more of a run team. But you took stuff off of Josh Allen's plate, and it helped your team. I think the Dolphins' offense is probably in a situation, if you aren't going to get Tua more weapons, a power runner, which, Chris Brooks, we can debate that, a receiving tight end, a number 3 receiver, whether it's the tight end, running back, slot receiver, Tua needs more help. Mike McDaniel has not changed his offense in 2 years. He's doing the same thing, and it's not working.
No, it's working, and it's working better because he went from the number 6 offense to the number 1 offense in the NFL.
But you aren't winning any playoff games. You aren't getting home playoff games.
They didn't. You know why they didn't get any home playoff games? Because of Tennessee. You know why they didn't win the AFC East? Because of Tennessee. They dropped the ball at an inopportune moment, and they never recovered. You know why they didn't play well in the final 3 games of the season? Because of injuries. I think even though you've identified the playmakers that you want because you're ball obsessed, as you always are, Chris Perkins, the trenches, you're telling me you're ball. You telling me that Tua had a good interior of offensive line at the end of the season?
Let's not start all that. We're going to talk about Robert Hunt later. You
know where I'm coming from.
You always go with that interior offensive line, which means nothing. Which means nothing, listen, I want you to list the importance of the players from 1 to 22. Left guard is going to be 21. Right guard is going to be 22. Why do you want to spend all this money on Robert Hunt?
I did not say I want to spend all that money on Robert Hunt.
All right.
Don't put words in my mouth, Chris.
All right.
Now, Connor Williams, maybe, but I get him at a discount because he's injured right now.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the offense. What do you want to see from this offense? And look, I will get. Look, Butch Berry did a great job with that offensive line.
Phenomenal, not great, phenomenal.
Right, phenomenal. I will say phenomenal. What do you want to see with this offense? I mean, do you want to see Teron Armstead back, Connor Williams back, Rob Hunt? Do you want to see a power back, receiving tight end? What do you want to see with this offense in 2024?
I don't think you have a choice on Teron Armstead, primarily because it doesn't benefit you for him to retire or move on, or you're not trading him. He's here. He's going to play his 10 games, and you just put a smile on your face and tell him you love him. You have no choice. He's already got his money locked up because you decide that you need to restructure his contract. So you put yourself in that position as an organization, running bad finances and spending daddy's credit card, running daddy's credit card up. So even if he retires, you're going to take a hit. So you better be very nice and ask him to play pretty please. Connor Williams is a priority for re-signing for me, primarily because at one point he was a top 5 center in the NFL. I get him at a discount because he's injured. I'm probably pretty much putting the same 2-year, $14 million deal on the table, just primarily because I don't know what I can expect coming back from an Achilles injury. I don't know when he's going to be healthy. And then, do I want to start all over at center again? Maybe if somebody is out there or I have a good draft pick that I really want to target. I am comfortable letting Robert sign whoever is to the highest bidder. I'm a Robert Hunt fan. I know that guards, I will agree with you, Chris Perkins. Guards are not a priority position, so I'm not paying him $10 million.
Yep.
See, look, I agree, Perk. I agree. Look at that. But what I will say, but if Rob comes back, I want Rob to get his money because I've seen the struggle over the years, and I'm always an advocate for guys getting their money.
Right.
But the Dolphins don't have that much money to spend. You're $52 million over the cap. You don't even have the money to basically tender your restricted free agents because that would be an extra $6 million, even though it's just two backup guys.
Yeah.
You literally you have to pencil in that you're gonna on March 5th put the franchise tag on Christian Wilkins because Christian is gonna shake you down unless you offer him exactly what he wants. He's not signing before he gets to the market. So you're going to have to use the franchise tag to buy him some time. So that's $75 million of purging you got to do and contract restructuring you got to do. And that's even before you just start to add pieces. And the way you know Steve Ross wants himself a nice whale. Steve Ross wants himself a nice piece that will sell hope and will get fans excited about the season. And he's not leaving this offseason with just we stay in status quo. That's not Steve Ross. So I'm very curious to see what will happen and what can happen. And I think that they'll probably target some veteran player who wants to be traded because he needs a new contract or they can't come to terms, just like they got Bradley Chubb and just like they got Tyreek and just like they got Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
I do believe that Chris Greer, the most active trader in the NFL, will trade those draft picks because Perk, he really ain't got no use for them.
I know. And look, right now, this year, if they trade the first round pick, I'm fine with that because you're in win now. You are. So, look, we want to welcome some other people. Rigo, is that Rigo V, Rigo 5, Bob Brinson, we said, Kenna Rankin, Cat for Life, Pretty Boy. Pretty Boy says that card reference was spot on, the Ferrari to the offense. I love the finesse offense, though. I've seen a lot of finesse teams win.
Rams? Who else?
I don't know that's, but
no. Even Brady, when people don't underestimate this, during the Brady era, especially the second half of that era in his 7 championships, they were primarily a running team and ran with power.
Yes.
So you can't call them a finesse team.
Yeah. No, I think probably Pretty Boy is one of our regulars. I'm going to think that the kind of underlying thing is they can win with this offense. Do you think they can win a Super Bowl with this offense? I don't. I think you need a receiving tight end or a different number 3 or a better number 3 receiver, and you need a power run game. Again, you don't need. I like Derrick Henry. I love Derrick. I love me some Derrick Henry from when he was coming out. But you don't need a main power runner. You just need somebody you've already got Chris Brooks. Somebody to give it to on 3rd and 1 or 2nd and short. But what can this offense win a Super Bowl?
Here's how they can win a Super Bowl, Perk. And I'm this is the first time I've ever said this. Considering I do a podcast every single day, imagine how big that is.
All right, breaking news.
Yeah. Go sign Derrick Henry. I'm not saying make him a $9 million a year player. Right. I'm not saying sign him to a mega contract. I'm not saying that dump Raheem Mostert. Go sign Derrick Henry. Go add Jarvis Landry or Jarvis Landry type. Go sign Jakeem Grant. And I hate Jakeem Grant.
I know, still.
But you add those elements to your team and to your offense, and I think you still need to do some work on your offensive line. And I do believe that they like Julian Hill, and I think that they will invest in Julian Hill moving forward. So I'm more comfortable with that as opposed to signing a free, because you ain't got no money to sign a free agent tight end, and then it takes forever for a drafted tight end to develop and blossom. Yeah. So I say you make those moves and your offense is good enough. Now, defense is a whole different ball game, whole different can of worms. We'll figure that out as we go. But, yeah, you make those moves, and I know they're old players and they're aged players, but literally, what the hell do you think that you're going to be adding to your team on 1-year contracts?
Well, I do think that you need a receiving tight end. Kenna Rankin from the chat says, is it the coach that didn't use the tight end or quarterback? I think that it's the coach.
Absolutely. I mean, we watch OTAs. How many days did they actually throw to? How many times did you see them throw to the tight ends?
Very few. Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
There was like there was one day during OTAs where they had a inside run fullback and tight end centric day. And I swear they were just like, let's empty all the plays that we have here for these guys. And that was it. That was it. And Durham is a glorified offensive lineman. And the fact that he caught passes at the end of the season was just because nobody was healthy on offense.
That's kind of true. That's kind of true. I like Durham, but there's a lot of guys on this team that I like, but they're not factors. And so you need more. Everybody can't be a Teron Armstead, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Yeah. I understand that.
I even say they underutilized Alec Ingold all season. I know he was battling foot issues and whatnot, and practiced on the veteran injured guy practice program. But I'm sorry, Alec Ingold should have caught like 2 passes per game. Should have had 1 carry per game. Right. Why was he never? This is a Pro Bowl fullback, and he was never used in short yardage runs. Like,
right.
What did he make the Pro Bowl for then?
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. I agree because look, we saw in 2022 that he had some receptions. He could, he
catch.
Right. He's not a playmaker per se.
Catch yards.
Right. I agree. All right. So that's that. Let's move on to our third segment here. That was our offense. That we touched on this a little bit. The path. This is the path the Dolphins should take for free agency. So we're going to name some players. We went through. We touched on this. Who stays? Who goes? And why? Christian Wilkins. I think
they would be idiots if they didn't put the franchise tag on Christian. Now, obviously, you want to work a multi-year contract, but if I'm Christian, I'm not signing for anything that doesn't pay me $60 million in guaranteed money. And if you're not offering $60 million in guaranteed money, you might as well keep the phone, keep the conversation. But if the Dolphins expose him to the free agent market, you might as well say goodbye to him now.
Right. He'll probably end up with the franchise tag. Teron Armstead, you already said he should stay. I think he probably will. But what do you do at backup there? I mean, I don't know that Kendall Lamb. He's the 11th year, I think, with back problems. Do you bring him back? Is he reliable?
Don't be disrespectful to Kendall Lamb. I think Kendall Lamb is started 8 games.
I know. Solid. But is he going to hold up physically? That's the question. We both like Kendall Lamb.
He's not starting, so why wouldn't he hold up physically? They were at the point where Kendall was like, they're forcing me to sit out practice. I don't want to sit out practice. They don't want me to practice, and I'm like, all right, whatever. Kendall has told me he is not coming back for a minimum salary, and he's not. He's all right. He's all right with coming back, but he's damn sure not playing for a minimum salary. I think you offer Kendall a 2-year, $3 million a year deal, and that gives you an option for the second season. And that's a fair and respectable amount of money. But if I'm Kendall, I'm looking for a starting job in the NFL. And the way I performed, I should be able to be in contention for one.
Yeah, his age and health will work against him, but I agree with you, performance-wise and use-wise, the dude is useful. He can play both tackles. He's useful in this league as a part-time starter and definitely a high-quality backup. Rob Hunt, we both said it's a money issue. It's not a quality issue. No. Really good guy, really good player, but if he's going to want $10 million a year, somebody else is going to have to give it to him.
It really, to me, comes down to how many guys can you pay $10 million a year on your offensive line.
Right.
The whole line can't be $10 million players.
Right.
And right now, Rob is just that player that I think is going to have to graduate out the program. I think Connor, re-signing Connor would be more of a priority.
Right.
Liam can hold it down until Connor gets healthy. And the way Connor was playing and trending up, like I thought Connor was probably the best offensive lineman last season, and I would love to see him continue to be here.
Let me ask you this. Would you draft a center in the first round? The kid from Oregon is good. Jackson Powers Johnson, I believe is his name. I saw him at the Senior Bowl. Mm-hmm. And then shift Connor Williams to left guard. You get a center on the cheap. you're overpaying for the guard with Connor, but you kind of help your offensive line greatly, or any center guard in the first or second round. Would you do that? Yeah, that's a lot to pay.
I can't wait till May to make my decision on what I'm going to do at center, and unless I'm ready to ride with Leon Meichenberger center. And maybe I don't know how I feel about that. I think Liam probably could be better at right guard than he could be at center. I don't have an issue with the way Liam played at the end of the season, but I mean, he has been a mystery for us as an organization. So do I want to roll into the season with a mystery there? Not really. So yeah. I think I'm re-signing Connor. If Connor goes elsewhere, then I make it a priority to draft the center early and ride Liam till I figure out what he is and what he can do.
Yeah. I'm probably bringing Connor back at a pretty good cost, just to avoid all of that shuffling. Van Ginkel. Gink almost has to be back because of Chubb and Jalen Phillips. What are you going to do, Bo?
He's not. I don't think he's in the I'm ready and healthy for the regular season either. So from what I was told, it's a Liz Frank injury. That's at least 9 months. So we'll see. You know what sucks for all those injured guys that are free agents? It's not like they are going to the market and are healthy and can prove that their work. Like, I feel bad for Andrew Van Ginkel. He killed it. And he was probably in line for an $8 million a year salary just based on how he was performing. And here he is coming into free agency for the second time off an injury. He might have to take a Nick Needham deal where it's just like, this is going to hold you over till you get right and then have to do it all over again. But as they say, Perk, life is not fair.
Yeah. Hey, a couple of things from the chat line. Cap for Life says, any day of the week, I'll take power over speed. You've been preaching speed kills since 2018. I wouldn't say any day of the – I would say you just need a good mix of it. I don't know that speed is going to win. Again, it's the 99 Rams, to me, is the only team that won with speed. You need unique speed with the requisite power.
Maybe the Colts in Peyton Manning era. Maybe.
Yeah, Edgerrin and Harrison, I don't know that they were speed guys, and so – but I don't – I think that you do need – it's the NFL. You need power. Hey, let me ask you this, what about toughness on this team? We're talking about, who stays, who goes. How much toughness does this team need? Was Tennessee a matter of toughness? Were some of these games down the stretch, even with injuries, a matter of toughness? Was Buffalo 48-20 a matter of toughness? Do you need? And here's the other thing, that look, you and I have seen the Dolphins get out physical and out muscled by Baltimore and Buffalo for years.
Tennessee too. Don't ignore Tennessee. They've always
Tennessee. But here's the deal, We've seen them get out muscled when they had badass Randy Starks, badass Paul Soliai, badass Richie Incognito, badass Mike Pouncey. What did they do for toughness? You had tough guys, and you still got beat by these teams.
I think toughness is a mentality that you coach with, and Harbaugh has it, and the Tennessee Titans coach, Mike Vrabel, has it.
Yep.
I think it's a mentality, just like the way Mike McDaniel's coaches. It's a mentality. You have to have that toughness mentality, and maybe Anthony Weaver brings that here with him. But I will acknowledge and admit, I think the only guy that kind of brings that identity here for the Dolphins is Christian Wilkins, and
I think David Long and Deshaun Elliott also bring it, but Christian is the captain of that. He is right. Yeah. He is the captain of that. Yeah. How about this? Jason Rico says, need a bit of power. I'd like to see them get Derrick Henry and a third option slot receiver. David Laser says, can someone just answer one question? Why do we pitch the ball on running plays? Why are we not handing off? Is it Tua or McDaniel? So any of that?
Speed. That's a speed. That's an edge. Get to the edge. It's easier to get to the edge when it's a pitch play. I really love some of their I formation, pistol work, RPO work. They didn't utilize it enough for me. But I saw it some in training camp, and I thought that it wasn't, they started dusting it off. I think it was Baltimore. I think it was Buffalo, and utilizing. I was like, oh, okay, I like it. I see it. Then they tried to use some of it in Kansas City, and just the fact that the weather, from one side of the field, you couldn't even throw the ball going in one direction. That kind of, took the element of mystery out of it. So teams were defending the run, but I would love to see Mike McDaniel get more in his bag as a run game specialist, and that's how he made his name in this league. And I think he did an excellent job this season, running, staying committed to the run. Like, if you think about it, Perk, all the things that we knocked Mike McDaniel for, maybe it flared up at the end of the season, but they weren't issues during the season. And I would like to see him continue that trend by staying more committed to the run and getting plays in earlier and not having so predicated on motion. But I think he's a good coach. If you go into a season and you fix all the things that we felt were an issue, how could you be a bad coach?
But that's the thing. He's got to make some changes, and I'm not sure that Chris Grier is telling him, Mike, we need to make these changes. I see Chris Grier as just kind of patting him on the back and going, yeah, you're right, Mike. He needs somebody to tell him we need a power back. Enough of this mess. We've been messing around for 2 years. Like, we've got to make changes. And I don't know that anybody in that building is going to tell Mike McDaniel that.
I don't know. I mean, it's not Chris Grier's personality, but if you do a deep dive and a deep analysis, what were the issues on the team? You couldn't convert third and short.
You can't beat good teams. That's your number one issue. Oh, you can't.
Okay, well, and why can't you beat good teams? Because you can't convert third and short. Because there are very few things wrong with the offense outside just the blanket statement of, oh, you can't beat good teams. Okay, tell me what was wrong with the offense.
I've told you, you need a receiving tight end. You need a power game. You need a third receiver, whether it's a slot receiver, a running back, or a tight end. You need to take stuff off a two plate. You need to get the plays to the huddle faster. There's a list of things that you need to do to improve this offense, and for 2 years, you haven't done any of them. And so if you don't look, here's what he's done. You cut down the penalties greatly from year 1 to year 2. You improved your running frequency, right? You were 31st in runs McDaniel's first year. You were 15th in rushing attempts his second year. That's about where the list of accomplishments stops. What else did you do from year 1 to year 2? Significant.
Better at challenges, kind of.
No, he's like 2 for 13 over 2 years. Like, he's terrible at That's another thing they need to streamline, as a matter of fact, is the challenge Who's 2 for 13? Like, that's terrible. That's terrible. It's terrible.
Hey, like, yeah, they need to probably reassess the challenge coordinator. There's one guy responsible for it, so he clearly has to do a better job.
Yeah. All right. Jason Rico says injuries play a role. When not at full speed with HN, Tyreek, and Waddle, a power running game will help, especially in short yardage situations and red zone. Now, you can take that, or you can take the angle of, why has this team had so many key injuries to key players over the last 2 years? I mean, sometimes that just happens, right? To compare apples and oranges, we see that with the Miami Heat. Now, apples and oranges, the Heat still makes it to the NBA Finals with injury issues. The Dolphins can't win a playoff game. But is this a training thing? The trainers, the training program, offseason? I don't think so, because I think if you look at the injuries, right, Jalen Phillips, that's not a training thing. He was pushing off. Bradley Chubb, that was non-contact. Teron, right. So what do you do about the injuries, though? What do you do about these injuries?
Get younger players, more durable players.
Can't afford them.
I know. So you're back on a roster full of injury-prone and old players for the bulk of the roster. Like, the final 20 spots on the roster are going to be injury-prone and old players.
That's not good enough. You spent too much money. You can't.
Okay,
that can't be acceptable.
Chris Perkins, how do you fix that when your roster is built on your top 10 highest-paid players at the position, and then everybody else?
I don't have the answer.
I mean, the back end of your roster is going to be made up of injured players that are taking 1 year, $2.5 million deals.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, we can't want everything and get everything. I know that Big Daddy Ross give you a credit card, but there's only so much you can buy now.
That's true. That's true. Okay, here's a couple of to wrap up here on who should stay and who should go. I'm gonna give you 3 DBs because I'm gonna give you 4 because that secondary could be in trouble. Xavier Howard with his $25.9 million salary cap charge, Deshaun Elliott, potential free agent, Eli Apple, potential free agent, Nick Needham, potential free agent. I say X has to stay. Him and Christian will. Huh?
At what salary?
Well, you got to write him a check. You got to write him a big check.
Of course, you got to write Xavier a check.
But to me, X is more important than Robert Hunt. He's at it right. So
I mean, no doubt about it. I think your defense complete. If you don't re-sign, here's the thing. You clearly got to restructure the contract.
Right. Yes.
If you give X a 2-year, $16 million deal, give him a 3-year, $24 million deal, guarantee 6, you'll be able to retain him. If not, cut him. He goes to the market and he figures it out. And maybe you'll be bidding for him when he's in the market. I don't think that's a problem that they got to fix. But in terms of Nick Needham, I definitely would try to re-sign him. I'm not paying Nick big money. Nick knows that. He didn't do anything to earn big money. But if I'm Nick, I'm going to try to find another opportunity elsewhere with a team that believes in me. Eli Apple, and who else you mentioned?
Deshaun Elliott.
Bro, he got like $1.8 million last year. If he's wants to sign for that again, let's do it. I give you 2.
Yeah, I know he doesn't want to come cheap. He doesn't want to come cheap, but we'll see.
Veterans. He's one of those veterans in the NFL where he'll be a 1-year cheap player for the next 5 years. Unfortunately, nobody's going to fall in love with him. Nobody's going to propose, and maybe somebody does. But
I think somebody probably will out of necessity. But look,
I don't think he works well with Holland. In my opinion, I don't. I think if they want to put Holland in the box, then they need to find somebody who can, the Kitchens kid from UM. I would love to pair him with Holland, and I think you got a great secondary. I'm also not a Holland must be. Holland is going to try to shake them down this offseason, and I'm not a Holland must be paid guy either.
You got to keep somebody in that secondary.
Jalen Ramsey.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, Jalen. If you just have Jalen, he's going to be looking at you the way he looked at Vic Fangio.
How you going to ignore Brandon Jones? You didn't even bring Brandon Jones up in this.
Yeah, he's another potential free agent. Yeah.
This whole defense. Do you realize there's healthy and signed? The defense is Zach Sealer, David Long, Duke Riley, Javon Holland, Jalen Ramsey, and Kader Cole. That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is injured or free agents.
Right.
So you're building a whole new defense.
You are. Speaking of that, real quick, what do you want to? Anthony Weaver, the new defensive coordinator, speaks to the media tomorrow afternoon. What do you want to hear from Anthony Weaver? I want to hear this man say, we're going to punch you in the mouth, period, like Raven style, and we're not going to quit till you're knocked out. That's what I want to hear.
I want to hear the exact same thing. If they bring the Harbaugh flavor to Miami, it would excite me. They need to become a more physical defense. I'd love to see them get back to pressing and playing man coverage because I'm not a big fan of the zone. I just don't. Teams kill them with crossers, and I get it. And here's the thing. If you play zone, you would hope that you get turnovers. Did they get turnovers last year, Perk?
Not really. I mean, yeah.
Jalen Ramsey, and that was it.
Yeah, there was a stretch where they did, but no, they did have 3 straight games where they had a pick 6. But yeah, in stretches, you're right, they did not though. And overall, they did not. Hey, here's something from the chat that's very interesting from Grandizer 12, one of our better watchers. Why sign Derrick Henry when Coach McDaniel died away from the?
Because it adds.
Does he use Henry situationally correctly? Because we both know Henry's not going to get 30 carries a game if he comes here. But no. Does he try to use him as a decoy too much on 3rd and 1? Well, or would Mike McDaniel be the type of 3rd and 1, Henry's in here, we're giving it to him, he's getting the first down, and now we move on? Or would he try to be cutesy and put somebody in motion and throw a screen? What do you think he would do?
I think he'll do both. I think
pound Derrick Henry. There's no. I'm not trying to do any motion. And dude, we got the hammer. Stop him. He's running you over. Period. End of story.
I mean, they'll test it, and if it's working, and if you playing soft coverage, they'll hammer you. If you're coming up in the box, they'll throw it over the top of you. That's the beauty of a Derrick Henry to adding that to the offense. And I know everybody wants to hand over the offense to Devon Achane, and I'm fine with that. But that's more finesse. I'm saying this is about changing your style, changing your approach, not necessarily the talent. Because I have no problem with Raheem Mostert coming back and being the feature back on this team or handing over the run game to Devon Achane. This is about adding a style to your team that will complement what you have in terms of those spacers and those speedsters.
Yeah, it is. And again, I don't know that I've got to be convinced that Mike McDaniel believes that he needs to change his style or tweak his style, because I'm not convinced that he thinks that. I haven't seen significant offensive changes in the first 2 years. Again, they cut down.
It's only been 2 years. Damn, Don Shula changed his style.
But dude, here's the thing, like the clock is ticking. Like this is this is the best talent you're going to have these 3 years in your Dolphins coaching career, right? You're not going to have better talent. So what are you doing here? What are you doing?
Hopefully winning a playoff game.
Yeah, I know. Hey, this from Cliff D. Wilkins disappears against good teams. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true.
I don't think that's true. Did he play well against Kansas City and Buffalo? No, but
yeah, I
actually
think
he got the ball back in Buffalo, right? Didn't he?
He might have. Did he?
One of those games he forced a turnover, but yeah, he made a stupid play against Buffalo too. So
yeah. Well, from a lo-fi anime NFT, Greer drafting end of first has been spotty.
Greer's a mediocre drafter.
You know what? Well, wait a minute. Now, I think the first and second round picks have been decent. Third,
you had 4 or 3.
Look, Christian Wilkins was a good pick, right?
Yes.
And Javon Holland, second round, good pick. Rob Hunt, good pick. I know that Noah washed out, but Tua's a good pick. Austin Jackson is a good pick.
Panned out. Don't say good pick. He panned out. I would like to do.
So that's what else do you want? I mean, everybody's not going to be a Pro Bowl player.
I want J.J. Watts over Charles Harris. That's what I want.
Okay, but well, I mean, come on.
I mean, you asked me what I want.
I want Brock Purdy over Skylar Thompson. I mean, come on, no.
We can keep doing this, Bert. We can keep doing this. I want the Tampa safety over Noah Igbenogany.
All right. Look, the point is well taken, though, that Greer's drafting has not been.
I want somebody other than Channing Tindall.
Yeah, I know. Right. Okay, here's a question for you as we prepare to wrap up, because we're coming on an hour now, and I appreciate this. So I got love for you. I appreciate you coming back on the show here. Detroit, we saw them turn it around, right? We saw what Detroit was when the Dolphins beat them in 2022 at midseason. I think it was 31-27 game. And now Detroit ends up in a year and a half, they end up in the NFC Championship. Can the Dolphins do the same? Well, the Dolphins are working. They have a bigger head start because they got back-to-back playoff appearances. Can they be in the AFC Championship next year? I'll say this real quick. I think the Dolphins have to win 1 playoff game next year, probably 2. And 2 would probably AFC Championship or Super Bowl, depending on if you get the first round bye. But with all this talent, we're looking at a 3-year accumulation. If you only have 1 playoff win.
All what talent.
Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Teron Armstead. You had 5 Pro Bowlers on your offense, 6 Pro Bowlers overall. everybody on the offense was either a Pro Bowl player or a Pro Bowl alternate, all 11 starters. So when you say what talent, that's the talent. You got 2 Hall of Famers, Jalen Ramsey and Tyreek Hill. You have Vic Fangio. I can call roll. You have talent. Don't say you don't have talent.
You had talent. Whether they will have it on March 13th, March 15th, March 17th, we'll see.
If you don't have the same talent, it's your job to tweak your system to best take advantage of that talent. Can the Dolphins make a Detroit-type turnaround? Can they be in the AFC Championship in after this season?
No, because they're 4 quarterbacks ahead of them. And until you build a roster and your quarterback's stones drop, you're going to be behind the Lamar, Patrick, Josh, Joe Burrow, and they're all in your division. And now Herbert might be coming with Harbaugh. So,
okay, but tell me this though. Then how do Jalen Hurts? How did he make it to a Super Bowl? How did Nick Foles make it to a Super Bowl? How did Colin Kaepernick, Jimmy G? How are these guys making it? They're not Hall of Famers.
They're in the NFC. All the quarterbacks are in the AFC. All the elites. Name me an elite quarterback in the NFC.
Well, I mean, Brock Purdy is good. I don't know. He's not elite. But he's good.
That's what I'm saying. You got to go through the elite quarterbacks of the league. Unless the Dolphins are changing conferences anytime soon, yeah, it's going to be tough. And hopefully you got to get home field advantage. You got to make them come through you. You got to stay healthy at the end of the season, and Tua has to become a killer. That's the only way it happens.
Yeah, I think you have to build a more complete team. And I think you need to look at San Francisco and Philly and Baltimore and look at what these teams do. And Kansas City, did I say Kansas City, Philly, Baltimore? Look at what these teams do.
They draft well.
It's not all the draft. It's not all quarterback. You have to do it the way that it suits your specific situation. I think the Dolphins look at it and they say, well, it's got to be offense and it's got to be quarterback because we've got this coach and this is the era of the NFL. No, you do what you do. That's not how Kansas City did it this year. They got timely plays from one of the best quarterbacks of all time, granted. But the defense and the run game carried them. And I think if the Dolphins could do that, Tua is not going to be on every game, but have another way to win. Have something aside from a fastball. Give me a changeup. Give me a curveball. Give me a slider. Give me a sinker. Something.
Power running game.
Yeah.
And maybe a tight end. I hear.
Yes.
I hear Nick Hicks is screaming that they need a tight end. Okay, maybe that's what Tua wants. But show me the last time Tua was thrown to a tight end.
Give him one.
Yeah, Mike Gesicki. You want Mike Gesicki back?
Well, I'm not sure that was you
can get him for like $5 million. You want Mike back?
I want somebody better. Okay, somebody.
You want better than the glorified slot receiver. Okay, now I thought last time you said you wanted a pass catcher, Perk.
I do. Look,
I can see the pass catcher.
Durham Smythe caught more passes last year than Gesicki did in 2022. So I mean, and Gesicki didn't have a great year last year either, did he? In New England. So anyway. Much love. I appreciate it. We appreciate all of you guys out there viewing and asking questions. Again, I will answer questions in an online article tomorrow. So Raphael Courtwright, Lo-Fi Anime NFT, California, Tony Risilt, Matt Newton, Grandizer 12. Your questions will be among the ones I answer tomorrow online. To everybody else, we appreciate it. And thanks for watching. That's Omar Kelly. I'm Chris Perkins. You're watching SunSentinel.com.